ever get that feeling? Like something sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah, today we're diving deep into a story that'll really test that spidey sense. We're talking Vivek Ramaswamy, Axovant, and, well, whether those alarm bells were kind of ringing all along.
Oh, they were ringing for some, that's for sure. And this isn't just some isolated case, This gets to the heart of how Wall Street works, how biotech operates, maybe even how we think about, like, savvy voters. So yeah, buckle up, because this is where things get interesting.
Right. Okay, so set the scene for us. Axovant, Ramaswamy at the helm, they buy this Alzheimer's drug from GlaxoSmithKline, no less, $5 million bucks. Now you'd think, sweet deal, big pharma leftovers, but here's the kicker. This drug had already tanked, and I mean tanked. Not one, not two, but 4 clinical trials down the drain. And that's the part people got to understand, right? Clinical trials. That's the bread and butter of biotech. Expensive, got to be rigorous, all to prove a drug actually works. Safely. So company comes along, grabs a 4-time loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to wonder what's up.
Giant flashing neon what's up sign, right?
Yeah.
Because what do? Take this drug public and get this. At a valuation of almost $3 billion, you with me? 4-time loser, suddenly worth billions, no new trials, nothing. That's some serious magic trick, wouldn't you say?
It makes you wonder with the sleight of hand involved, for sure. See, this kind of move, not technically illegal, but Wall Street's got a name for it. Pump and dump. Hype it up, inflate that price, cash out before reality comes knocking.
And this is where my spidey sense goes haywire, right? Because
Yeah.
who are these early investors? Not Aunt Mildred betting her pension fund. We're talking Viking global investors, big-time hedge fund. These guys are sharks. They don't play around.
Exactly. Them being in early, that says something, right? Calculated risk, maybe some info the rest of us didn't have access to. It's a question mark.
Big one. Okay, so that $3 billion dream. Fast forward a bit, drug fails its trial. Shocker, right? But here's where you gotta hold on tight. News drops, stock plummets, 75% one day.
Oh.
Poof. Imagine the panic.
Textbook case of hype outrunning reality. And who gets hurt? Often it's the everyday investor left holding the bag when the music stops. Sad, but true.
Okay, and this is going to sound cynical, but right before this whole thing implodes, Ramaswamy sells a big chunk of his shares. 37 million walks out the door as the ship's going down. Now, I'm no lawyer, but
Yeah.
something about that just feels off, doesn't it?
Raises questions for sure. Timing, who knew what when? Legally, insider trading rules, those are tricky, might have been fine. But ethically, whole different story. Highlights why it matters who profits and when in these deals.
Because it wasn't those California teachers whose retirement fund took a hit, that's for damn sure.
Exactly. Human cost, that's what gets lost in these billion-dollar stories. Easy to forget, it's people's lives, their livelihoods caught in the middle.
So we got a failed drug, market crash, our guy's got his millions. You'd think that's the end, right? Nope. This is where it gets wild. Axovant goes bust, but Ramaswamy, he lands another billion in funding. $1 billion. SoftBank. Those Japanese investment giants. Now, am I crazy, or should there be like a warning label on this guy by now?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But this is where it gets really interesting, understanding what these big players are after. This is high-stakes poker, and we got to know the rules of the game. See, SoftBank, they're kind of famous for, well, liking a gamble, big bets, even on companies with, let's say, a bit of a past. And here, their billion wasn't just about Axovant, not really. It was the whole Ramaswamy package. The companies, sure,
Yeah.
but more the salesmanship, you know.
So they were back in the hype men, not the actual medicine.
Kind of, yeah. SoftBank's playbook's different. Disruption, that's what they want. Industry's upended, the next big thing. And Ramaswamy. Love him or hate him, the guy's got a knack for attracting cash, right?
Even after the Axovant show. Wild.
Yeah, and get this, even they, SoftBank, supposedly had their doubts about that Alzheimer's drug.
Hold up, seriously. $1 billion. Knowing it's more about the sizzle than the steak? Got
Yeah.
some high roller stuff.
High risk, high reward, right? Different game than us regular folks. Home runs, 10x returns, that's what they're after. Few strikeouts along the way. Comes with the territory.
Okay, but at some point, you gotta wonder, are we all getting fooled here? Like, you sell the story well enough. Does the actual product, the drug, even matter?
$1 million question, man. And it's bigger than biotech even. Tech, entertainment, health, even politics. Charisma, a good story. That can overshadow a lot of more practical stuff.
Which brings us back to Ramaswamy running for president. This whole Axovant thing, no one's going to jail, right? But makes you think. Judgment? Priorities.
Definitely raises questions.
Yeah.
And voters, they're right to be asking them.
Totally. So let's bring it back down to earth. Axovant, the whole saga. What's the takeaway? What can we learn, whether it's investing or like sizing up someone running for office?
First thing, and this is key, be skeptical.
Mhm.
Don't just take a good story at face value, dig deeper, especially when something seems too good to be true.
Like what happened those first 4 trials? Who else was in on the deal early on? What could go wrong? That kind of thing.
Exactly. Do your homework. Science, the financials, who you're dealing with. Second opinions, those are good too.
Because let's be real, a lot of times it's our money on the line, right? Not theirs.
Right. And that brings us to point two. Follow the incentives. Who's winning and when. Follow the money, always. Understand their motivation. Then you can judge the situation more clearly.
And with Ramaswamy going for president, those incentives just got a whole lot more complicated.
You got that right. Which is where takeaway number 3 comes in. Context is king. How someone's acted before, in business, personally. It's not a crystal ball, but it shows you how they operate, what matters to them.
So Axovant is not proof of anything, but it's a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Up to us to decide how it fits.
Lot to chew on there. But before we wrap up, gotta mention one more thing about SoftBank's whole deal, right? Betting big, risky moves, huge payoffs. Some people are saying that's changing the whole investment game.
Always for the better, right? It's like, we've all heard about these tech companies, these unicorns worth billions, and you're like, for what? An app that delivers your socks? Something feels off about the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the concern, right? All this money sloshing around, growth at all costs, creates a bubble.
Yeah.
And we know what happens with bubbles. Not pretty.
Which brings us to the big question, probably why a lot of folks are listening. Ramaswamy, he rode the Axovant wave, maybe bailed out before it crashed,
Yeah.
and now he wants our vote. So, like, does any of this matter when it's about, the presidency? That's the million-dollar question for voters, isn't it? No easy answer. Everyone's going to decide for themselves. But I think the Axovant story, it gives some things to think about, for sure.
Like what? Hit us with the key takeaways.
Number 1, always look beyond the sales pitch. Just like with those investments, those promises that sound too good to be true. Same with campaigns. What's the proof? What could go wrong? Ask the hard questions, get real answers.
So same skepticism, whether it's a company's books or like a politician's voting record. Got it.
Exactly. Second thing, who are you dealing with? If someone's got a history of, shady stuff in business, you'd think twice about trusting them with your money, right? Politics, same idea. Past behavior, it matters.
So do your homework. What's their track record? What did they actually do? Not just say.
Exactly. And last but not least, we have a choice. With investing, we choose where our money goes. Democracy. We choose our leaders.
And those choices, they have real consequences.
They do indeed.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into Vivek Ramaswamy and the whole Axovant saga. Wild ride, right? But hey, knowledge is power. The more we know about how this stuff works, the better decisions we make, whether it's our investments or, our votes.
Couldn't agree more.
So until next time, keep asking those tough questions, keep digging for the truth, and remember, it's out there somewhere.